Why, hello there. Welcome to this YouTube video. My name is Leah. I'm a new progressive YouTuber, and I will be here on Wednesdays and Saturdays producing this show where I talk about big stories, cultural trends, whatever I feel like talking about, all in an attempt to use my political energy for good. That is why I'm here. That is what I'm doing. If that's something that you're interested in, well, you're in the right place, and I'm happy to have you here. Today, we have sort of like a chill show today, which is actually like really nice. Like, I'm thankful to have a chill show. I feel like we've had a ton of big news happening lately. Like ever since I started my show, I've only been doing this for 2 or 3 weeks, and the past 2 or 3 weeks have been nonstop, pretty intense news. And it feels like we sort of had a break this weekend. Like we sort of had a little bit of a chill weekend where it was like mostly memes, it's mostly small stories, nothing intense, nothing really over the top. But we do actually have 3 stories today. One of them is this first segment, which is just like campaign watch, where we're going to be talking about Kamala's campaign, and we're going to be talking about everything going on there to see like what's going on with her in her race for the presidency against Donald Trump. But we also have a story about the FDA approving a blood test for colorectal cancer, which we will talk about more, and why that is super duper important. Huge news there, actually, in terms of like medical science and stuff like that. And then we have some proposed Supreme Court reforms that Biden put forward, sort of just like a response to all of the extremist rulings that we've had from the Supreme Court and their blatant corruption just on display for everyone to see. I mean, the Supreme Court is at an all-time low with approval ratings and stuff like that. We'll talk about it more during that segment. This segment right here is all about Kamala and her campaign. So we're going to jump right into those stories, which I'm actually pretty excited to bring you. So we have a number of articles to get through here, and I will try to just share the most relevant information and sort of just get the big bits of the stories here so that we don't have to like dwell too much on each story. So the first one is White Women for Harris meeting raised millions and broke Zoom. So nearly 200,000 people met on Zoom to build support among white women for Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. There were so many participants that the meeting crashed several times, according to the women on the call. According to polling, the white women voter demographic supported Republican nominee Donald Trump in the past 2 elections. White women supported Trump over Hillary Clinton in 2016, and in the 2020 election, an even higher number of white women, 53%, supported Trump. So you may have heard about this. Hours after Biden's announcement, like literally hours after, there was a Zoom call where it was like, I think it was like Black Women for Harris or something like that. And essentially they just like drew in this like massive crowd of people, and there was a lot of excitement. They raised a bunch of money, and they got a bunch of like volunteers and stuff set up and ready to help for the campaign. And then on Monday, there was one for Black men that drew more than 50,000 people, and there have been separate calls for South Asian women, LGBTQ allies, and white men. And we'll talk about the white men too in a second, because that one's coming up. But I do have to say, just covering all these stories, like it's kind of weird that like we're doing all these Zoom calls by demographics, like just like white women for Harris, Black women for Harris, Black men for Harris, white men for Harris. Like, it's just kind of goofy. Like, some people have been calling it cringe. I don't really think it's necessarily cringe. I just think it's sort of a goofy thing that is happening. I don't really have much more to say about that. Like, I'm sure that there could be different ways to organize these Zoom calls. But yeah, I've seen some discourse about that, and I just wanted to mention, like, I just think it's goofy. I don't think it's really all that serious. Like, I know some people are like sort of thinking it's really, really cringy and stuff like that, but whatever. Who cares? Like, it's support for the campaign, and it's really just showing like the number of people that are so excited right off the rip for this campaign. And so moving on, we have the next article: X suspends and then reinstates White Dudes for Harris account after group raises $4 million for her campaign. We scared Elon Musk. So this was another one of these like massive Zoom meetings where they met and they talked about the Harris campaign. They raised money, they got, you know, people ready to volunteer for the campaign, stuff like that. And apparently the account was suspended and then reinstated. Now, I'm trying to figure out if this interrupted the Zoom call. Okay, no, it seems like it happened after they hosted a live stream, but people were talking about how immediately after that live stream, the account was suspended, and then people were wondering, like, why would that happen? Why would this account get suspended? It kind of seems like maybe Elon Musk was scared by all of this. Like, there's been a lot of energy around these little meetings that have been happening, and I do not put it past Elon Musk to just like try to ban these accounts. There was something that happened recently where like there was I think it was like the Kamala Harris HQ account on Twitter had like like there were so many people following it. I think that maybe like Elon Musk like temporarily blocked people following the account, which is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And that only got resolved after people sort of talking about it similar to this. Okay, so we have some more details here. White Dudes for Harris said 190,000 people tuned in to the YouTube live stream on Monday, which featured appearances from actors including Hamill, Jeff Bridges, J.J. Abrams, Sean Astin, Josh Groban, Josh Gad, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Bradley Whitford. But yeah, if you've been following anything about Elon Musk and like his takeover at Twitter and everything that he's been doing at Twitter, it is very unsurprising to think that he would do something like interfere with people trying to engage with these accounts, because we all know how pathetic Elon Musk is, and we absolutely understand that he probably had a hand in trying to prevent people from interacting with these accounts. All right, so we're going to move away from the discussion of the Zoom calls and all that stuff, and we're going to discuss how Vance admits that Harris switching out with Biden was a political sucker punch. So Senator J.D. Vance, the Republican vice president nominee, privately told donors that the emergence of Vice President Harris's campaign was a political sucker punch. All of us were hit with a little bit of a political sucker punch, Vance said Saturday about President Biden suspending his campaign. The bad news is that Kamala Harris does not have the same baggage as Joe Biden, because whatever we might have to say, Kamala is a lot younger, Vance said at Golden Valley, Minnesota fundraiser, and Kamala Harris is obviously not struggling in the same way that Joe Biden did. Publicly, the Trump campaign has said Harris replacing Biden has not changed the race. Trump allies have targeted Harris's role in the Biden administration, particularly on immigration and inflation, and suggested she misled the public about Biden's fitness. After Biden dropped out, Vance joked that he was kind of pissed off that he won't be able to debate Harris as vice presidential candidates, now that she's poised to take on Trump. He also warned voters that Harris was a million times worse than Biden. So then I also want to highlight this thing that he said right here. We have a very unique opportunity, but also a very unique challenge, because let's be honest, 10 days ago, the two candidates who were running for president, everybody had an opinion about them. Love them or hate them, everybody has an opinion about Donald Trump or Joe Biden after the past 8 years. But Kamala Harris, people don't really know. So we're talking about this story because, as the article mentioned, the public facing message has been like, oh, we don't care about this switch up, it doesn't matter to us. But like, you can tell that the Republicans are flailing behind the scenes because their messaging is all over the place. They are not coherent with their attacks on Kamala Harris, and they honestly have been like doing extremely weak attacks against her. Like their attacks have been like, oh, her laugh is kind of weird. Like, who cares? It's kind of refreshing to have a candidate who will laugh. Like, even maybe if you think her laugh is weird, which I don't, I think her laugh is kind of nice actually. It doesn't really matter, because like the contrast that she's creating with that laugh between her and Donald Trump is that Donald Trump is like this old stick in the mud, ultra serious, like everything is doom and gloom, nihilism, and all it's a death. It's a battle for the ages and stuff like that. People don't really want a battle for the ages. Most people don't want there to be like this really tense rhetoric. You know what I mean? A lot of people want there to be like a cooling of tensions, and someone laughing is a cooling of tensions. So yeah, I'm glad that we finally have some reporting of some more public facing statements that are made by people like JD Vance, who is, he's such a rookie politician. I swear, like, he shouldn't have said any of that out loud, if we're being totally honest. Like, if he wanted to seem strong and in control of the race and not fazed by Kamala Harris, you know, joining the race as a presidential nominee, then he really shouldn't have said any of that. He should have stuck to the Trump message of being not fazed by any of this. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next article, and I'm pretty excited to show this one to you. GOP mayor who backed Harris says Trump won't leave office if reelected. Like, honestly, I feel like they could have written this title a lot better. A GOP mayor endorsing Harris, like that's the main tagline here. The Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, who announced this week he is backing Vice President Harris in the 2024 race, warned Monday that former President Trump will not leave office if he is reelected. So he was asked during an interview if he believed Trump would leave office if reelected. No, I don't, he responded. You know, as I was writing this op-ed that ran in the Arizona Republic this morning, I remember at one point I had a phrase in the op-ed where I said, if Donald Trump is reelected, I fear this might be the last free and fair election of my lifetime. And I struck it out because I thought, you know what? That's a little hyperbolic. That's more than needs to be said. And then, you know, he makes the statement saying that once I'm elected and I'm enthroned, you know, we won't need elections any longer. So sometimes Donald Trump says the quiet part out loud and we have to believe him. I think this is one of those occasions where we got some real insight into what his priorities are. So you might have seen this already, but Trump was making comments to Republicans. I think they were Christians at some conference. And you probably already saw this, but he said, you won't have to do it anymore. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, you're not going to have to vote, Trump said at the event. And like he repeated it, like you know, he reiterated the point. Like he was not like hiding the game here. He was definitely saying the quiet part out loud. Now, unfortunately, from the left, I really haven't seen all that many people talk about this. Like I've seen some people mention it in some interviews with Republican senators, stuff like that. But then it gets brushed aside very quickly. And it kind of worried me because it's like this kind of rhetoric is very obviously authoritarian. Like he is absolutely saying, hey, if you elect me back into office, there will be no more elections. I will be president for life. Like he's literally just saying it out loud. And people on the left are like, oh, okay, yeah, he's going to be president for life if he gets reelected. I guess that's kind of what he's saying, you know. But like, imagine if Joe Biden said that. Like, imagine if Joe Biden was like, hey, elect me to office, or Kamala Harris now, like, elect me to office and you will never have to vote again because we will just eliminate the Republican Party. We will just fix the elections so that there is only the blue. There is only blue no matter who you vote for. The Republicans would have an absolute total meltdown. They would be going ballistic over this. There would be, oh my gosh, it would be intense. It would be insane. But Trump gets on stage and just admits that he wants to be a dictator, and no one bats an eye at it apparently, except for this Arizona mayor. And this is what I want to mention, is that like he's saying it publicly, and he even mentioned that he like thought about not saying it publicly because it sounded kind of hyperbolic. But Trump is scaring away Republicans all the time. Like this has been something very consistent within the Trump kind of campaign or the Trump circle or whatever, is that they sort of insulate over and over and over. Like there are constantly people who have bad experiences with Trump, with his campaign, with his whatever, with just the stuff he says at his rallies. And those people eventually get estranged or distance themselves from him, or he screws them over or whatever, takes advantage of them. And, you know, they don't want to support him anymore. And this has been happening for almost the entire 10 years that he's been a part of the public eye, that he's been like a part of this like political game that we're doing right here. And if I'm being totally honest with you, like if you pay attention to his rallies and stuff like that, they used to be so big. His rallies used to have tons of people going to them. But if you look at his rallies now, like there's no more than a couple thousand people there at any given time. Like if anything, it's maybe more like a couple hundred people, and they're the same people that go to all of his rallies. And the reality of this general election here in 2024 is that if Trump wants to win, he needs to get independent voters. He needs to get these people that are wary of him, that have, you know, reservations about him, to vote for him. And I'll tell you what, like picking JD Vance as your vice presidential nominee, also like doing stuff like this, saying where you just want to be a dictator, those kinds of things are only going to help your most rabid supporters like feel more rabid in their support. Like you're just going to create super Trumper MAGA zealots who are like ride or die for you and stuff like that. But outside of that, you're not going to have people from the outside see, oh, you want to be a dictator? That sounds enticing. Like that's not really enticing to a lot of random people. So it's actually really nice to see this Arizona GOP mayor have the courage to come out and stand up for what's right and just say, hey, I'm backing Harris because this is about more than just my party. This is about democracy itself. All right, so I want to wrap up this story by talking about a couple of new campaign ads that came out. I'm going to try to play this campaign ad from Kamala Harris, but I have absolutely no idea if it's going to be like copyrighted or whatever, so I may have to remove it. Either way, I will have the link pinned in the comments or whatever for it, or in the description or something, so that you can check out the campaign ad yourself.
The one thing Kamala Harris has always been: fearless. As a prosecutor, she put murderers and abusers behind bars. As California's Attorney General, she went after the big banks and won $20 billion for homeowners. And as Vice President, she took on the big drug companies to cap the cost of insulin for seniors. Because Kamala Harris has always known who she represents.
This campaign is about who we fight for. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead. Where every senior can retire with dignity. But Donald Trump wants to take our country backward, to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and end the Affordable Care Act. But we are not going back. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Now, I don't know about you, but the "we are not going back" thing is absolutely perfect, and it gave me chills. Like, it actually just gave me chills. I didn't really pre-watch that campaign ad. I just sort of had the article pulled up about it, and then I was like, oh, I'll just show you the video. But, ooh, I got a little bit emotional there. In regards to the actual ad itself, I think it's great that they're showing clips of her speaking, the really high quality, really well put together. The presentation's amazing. I really felt like that was a well put together political ad. But transitioning into like showing her at rallies speaking, showing what she's talking about rather than just having like random voices talking about what apparently she stands for, I think is really powerful. I think that's what we need to see. We need to see more of that because Trump is so unhinged 99% of the time that they can't really use him and his actual like rhetoric in the campaign ads. And so they have to, really lean on like these like abstract like kind of ads, political ads, and they can't really get as specific with Trump's rhetoric just because of how crazy hyperbolic he is. But then you have the absolute opposite with Kamala Harris, where like optically she's doing an amazing job right now. She's really doing a great job putting forward her vision for like the future and stuff like that. And then again, we are not going back. That is so amazing because that awakens the fear in me of like a second Trump presidency of like going back to that, because like sometimes it's almost hard to think about. Like it's almost hard to remember exactly how scary and how bad that first Trump term was. But I swear to you, when I hear we are not going back, it's like agreed, agreed. I was going to talk about Trump's new ad, but it's kind of just a stupid like 30-second just everything is bad, vote kind of ad. So I don't really feel like talking about it. So that's actually going to wrap up this segment. That's going to wrap up the campaign watch for today. I will be back Saturday with more of it, obviously, but I also have 2 more segments coming out to you. So if you want to, check those out, I would super appreciate that. If you want to hit the like button, I would super appreciate that. If you want to subscribe, be a part of like my first 100 subscribers, that would mean a lot to me. I have a Discord up and running now. I've got a link tree. You can find the link to that in my description. It's got like all the rest of my socials, my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube, all that stuff, which you're here right now actually on the YouTube. I meant my Discord is what I meant to say. But yeah, trying to grow my first 100 subscribers. And then after that, the sky is the limit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you in the next one. But I do have one little tiny little favor to ask before you go. And that is that you drink some water.